This is the 2023 Yamaha XSR900, which sits at the top of its sports heritage range. Now, it's got that late 80s, early 90s retro vibe, but having ridden this for the last few weeks, it's got so much more than just that. So let's delve into it. I guess the first thing to talk about is the styling, because this bike has taken a bit of a step away from the original XSR900. And it's the thing that's gained the most attention and comments from the Yamaha test day that I did, as well as posts that I put on social media. The signature Deltabox chassis remains, and overall the shape is very similar, but it's the seat treatment that is the standout design shift, and that's what's created the most attention. Gone is the flatter original version, and it's been replaced with this humped offering. This bit seems to be the singularly most particular thing that people pick up on the design change, and it seems that quite a lot of people are not fans. It's when you look at where these styling cues come from that it all starts to make sense, and this is definitely a retro touch. It's reminiscent of the early 90s bikes, with the TZR and FZR springing to mind. Back in the days when those bikes were at their height, they were getting crashed and then re-emerging back on the street, sans fairing, with a set of upright bars and a round headlight fitted, and that's definitely where the inspiration for this bike comes from. You do have to make homologation allowances for the seat, because it is still a seat. It has to have a pillion strap, it has to have the pillion foot pegs, because nobody really wants to sit on a fiberglass cowl. But fit that cowl and this shape makes perfect sense. Personally, it's grown on me, and in this fantastic Gaulois blonde inspired colour scheme, I think it's a handsome looking bike. But looks are subjective, so I'll let you guys argue that out in the comment section down below.
But one thing that's not up for discussion is just how good this 890cc 3-cylinder CP3 engine is. It's silky smooth with an immediate yet very linear power delivery all the way up to the red line at 11,000 RPM. For me, the 117 horsepower is just the sweet spot for a road bike, and it allows you to explore the upper limits of the road range without things getting too silly. Don't get me wrong though, this bike is no slouch, but it feels like it's a bike that you can really ride on the public road. This is where I stand by my comment that this is more than just a retro styling exercise. Underneath this nostalgic bodywork lies a real rider's bike, and I absolutely love it. The 93 Nm of torque peaks at 7,000 RPM, but it feels like it's there whenever you need it. This means that it's got a very flexible engine character where you don't need to be continually up and down the box. On flowing roads like these, just keep it in third or fourth and enjoy it. It's the same motor that features in the Tracer 9, MT-09 and Nikon, all of which are an absolute pleasure to ride. Quick shifter is super slick, as is the overall gearbox. I've had no issues with downshifts or upshifts. I must admit, it is one of the nicest quick shifters that I've ridden on for quite some time. The handling is equally good. It's a very planted feeling bike, but it's very nimble with quick steering. And the difference that they've made on this bike compared to the previous one is use a longer swing arm. So the swing arm on this is from the Tracer 9, and it gives the bike much more stability, particularly at speed. The suspension is on the firm side of plush, which I like, but it is adjustable as well. So you've got plenty of tweakability. But for me, I'm about 210 pounds in weight, I think, at the moment. This suspension seems to work for me as it's set up from the factory. Nice and taut, plenty of feedback out of the front wheel, particularly given these Bridgestone Batlax S22 tyres that have got in it, which are super grippy. The best way I can describe it, I think, is precise. And it's the same whether you are hooting around town at those kinds of speeds or pushing it on at a brisker pace out in the twisties. The riding position is really good too. It's quite upright, so you're not getting any weight on your wrists, but by the same token you're still canted forward that little bit. That gives you plenty of control and a really nice feeling over the front wheel. The pegs are where you'd expect them, kind of back a little bit and up a little bit, but again not so far as they become uncomfortable, so even an old knacker like me can ride this for hours on end and not have any issues. The only thing I would say is that this seat is pretty firm, and after an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're looking for somewhere to stop and rest your tush. But that's the same for a lot of bikes, and in that sort of time you're probably going to be wanting to stop for fuel or a drink or whatever it might be. As a distance bike, it's pretty damn comfortable actually for what it is. And incidentally, that seat, the one that causes so much consternation in the comments section, sits at 810 millimeters above the ground, so that's a pretty accessible height too. I'm 5'10" with a 32 inside leg, and I can flat foot this with a bend in my knee with no problem. So for shorter riders, you're going to have no issues, I think, with this. Brakes are very good as well. We've got a Brembo master cylinder and lever and a set of own brand calipers on the front, but they're nice and powerful, good feel. All the time I've been riding this bike I've had no issues with the brake, and I've had a couple of occasions where I've had to haul myself up pretty quickly trying to avoid unattentive drivers turning out of side turnings, and I've had a lot of faith in these brakes. But it's just so much fun. I absolutely love this bike. Actually, up until now, probably my favourite naked bike to ride was the KTM 890 Duke. I don't really like the look of it that much, but it's such a lovely bike to ride, nice and light, super sharp handling, and this is much the same. This is a bit heavy. This is 193 kilos, fully fueled, wet, ready to go, which is up on the KTM. But obviously this has got a little bit more power as well. The KTM's at about 105 I think, and this is nearly 120, so that makes up for that extra bulk. But both of them are just exceptionally great handling bikes, super fun to ride, and it's the same with all of these test rides. The more of these I ride, the more of them I want to buy. I think if I ever won the lottery, I'd need a very big garage, and one of these would definitely be in there. So you can have a bike with the right kind of retro look, I think, if you're into that kind of style of bike. It's nicely finished, but it goes well as well. As I said a bit earlier on, it's a rider's bike, not just a retro for posing outside the coffee shop or at your local bike meet. I've not really spoken that much about the electronics, but I wanted to make this video more about the feel of the bike, what it's like to ride and how it is, rather than going into all of the details of that. If you've seen any of the reviews on the Tracer or the Nikon or the MT-09, it's got pretty much the same electronics pack in there. In actual fact, the Speedo is one half of that much discussed, shall we say, split dash that's on the current Tracer 9 GT. This is just that left hand side, and it's fine. It gives me all the information that I need. It's easy to read, it's easy to control through the toggle switches, and as well as the quick shifter, you've got cruise control on here, but not much more than that. If you want to add heated grips and that sort of stuff, obviously you can start delving through the accessories. One word I think that sums this bike up, when you look at the power, the handling and the braking, is reassuring. The other words that spring to mind are quick, nimble, neutral, and above all, fun. This really is a very, very good motorcycle. And if you want something that looks good and goes better, then the XSR900 has got to be on your list.
The finish of the bike is good too, from the gold spin forged wheels to the beautifully shaped and sculpted tank. It's all very nicely done. There are a few places where it's let down, but overall it's a well presented motorcycle. This one, however, is not completely stock and it's been treated to the Yamaha Racer Pack. This includes the full Acura exhaust system, aluminium front mudguard, adjustable levers, engine sliders and tail tidy. At £2,805.50, this is not a cheap pack, but you do have to remember that the exhaust itself costs over £1,900 just for that full system. It sounds awesome and looks great, but only you can decide if that is an option worth putting your hand in your pocket for. Adding this pack takes the very competitive £10,610 list price up to over £13,500, but in its stock form I think you get a hell of a lot of bike for your money. I've actually become quite smitten with the XSR900, and that's coming from somebody who's not normally a fan of triples, but I would definitely have one of these in my garage. I think Yamaha have hit the nail on the head with this. I dig the 80s styling and I like the fact that it's got something to back up those retro looks as well. Well done Yamaha, well done. I have little doubt that the majority of the comments will be about the looks of this bike, but if you do have any other questions then let me know in the comments section down below. And all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and until next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.